There are parents who say, I'm feeling so bad, I'm not able to get this PlayStation for my kid. There is nothing to feel bad, feel very happy.
It is the parent, or rather the adult who's going to be the parent, needs some unlearning and learning.
There's something called as the 20-20-20 rule.
As parents, we also tend to overstep, overdiagnose, self-diagnose, and do a lot of things which may actually be unnecessary.
Sometimes I would say poverty is a blessing.
Turn it off, switch it off, put your phone down, put your iPad down, go do something else. Is this something you're constantly hearing at home and having to say to your children? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Screen time, how it has become a major topic of discussion when it comes to parenting and just in general how we're raising our children. And we have with us two experts today. We have with us Dr. Saranya Jaikumar, who is an educational psychologist and an independent expert, Government of India, and Dr. Shweta Atheeshwar, who is a pediatric ophthalmologist. I'm Vinodini.
And I'm Kavita,
And we're talking about Kupshup.
keeping up with parenting.
So I'm going to get started with a question for all three of you, really. Now, she's a teacher, you're an educational psychologist and an ophthalmologist, experts in your own fields. When you parent your children, especially when it comes to topics like screen time, which are a constant debate at homes, do you parent with your expert hat on, or does that sort of go away when you enter your households, and are you struggling like the rest of us parents at home?
For me, I'm a very, very conscious parent that way. So from when my daughters were young, I've consciously restricted screen time at home. So when they were little kids, there was not, many digital programs that they were exposed to. They used to play with pets, toys, cousins, neighbors, and that's all they knew.
Yeah.
And I never introduced them to video games. And they still don't play video games. They're 14 and 13 years old. They still don't play video games at all. And they don't regret it also. See, sometimes the peer pressure is there. But when they learn to handle that also, it's okay. So I'm consciously a screen-free parent at home. And how much it's helped me is when I travel so much for work, I don't have to think of what my children are doing at home. They do what they have to do. And as simple as that.
Right, how lovely. How about you, Shweta?
I step in home, the expertise is out the window because, especially with children, I have a daughter who's going to be a teenager very soon. And my expertise really doesn't work on her. She says, Amma, this is for other kids. They listen to you. Try something different with me. So, I've had to sort of go back and think about my parenting style when it came to screen time particularly. So when she was younger, it was a bit easier. And, I would be a little more authoritarian. But now that she's grown a little older, those ways don't work anymore. So, as parents, I think we have to keep reinventing our strategies. We have to keep reinventing the way we think about screen time. So, we did a very interesting thing, okay? We actually, because this was an everyday battle, screen time. So, one fine day, I just said, let's just sit down and talk about it. And we actually spent a good 3 hours and we wrote up a memorandum of understanding. So it was something like a mutual agreement. She told me why she needs to use the screen, and I told her, why I think the content needs to be monitored and why I think I need to know what she's, doing online. So I think it was worth it. Those 3 hours were really worth it. I can't say that the MOU is,
No, that's true, because they are also getting very smart and asking a lot of questions, sometimes the right questions. So it's important to also be reasonable and also explain, as opposed to saying, no, you just can't do this. That doesn't work with kids these days. Yeah.
Because if you don't explain, the internet is going to give them another explanation, which is sometimes not required. It's better that as parents, we introduce rules, and then we also explain to them why we have those ground rules at home.
True. Very true. Yeah, completely agree. What does excessive screen time do to our children, right? What have you seen in your experience? I'd love to hear from you, from as a educational psychologist, as an ophthalmologist, and even as a teacher, right? What have you seen that's alarming and scary at this point?
See, there are a lot of psychological problems that children face when they have excessive screen time. When I say excessive screen time, children below 2 years cannot have screen time at all. 2 years to 6 years, you must have only guided entertainment, which means when your child is watching something, there is another person sitting and watching the same thing with the child. Because initially it used to be YouTube and YouTube Kids. We used to say, okay, please have only YouTube Kids for your children. But today, even in YouTube Kids, there is a lot of abusive content. There is a lot of violence. There is a lot of inappropriate content that a child should not see, that is presented to them in a cartoon format. And that's not okay. So you must know what your child is watching and limit screen time to less than 45 minutes a day. When I say screen time, it includes TV, phone, iPad, laptop, all of this put together. And if it's TV, it's fine, okay? At least 45 minutes of TV watching, you know what the child is watching. But if you're sitting there and doing only this all the time, your child is doing this, very, very dangerous. You know what will happen? The question I'm coming to. This child will lose interest in everything else around it. Nothing will interest the child. Recently, I went to a birthday party. This party had bubbles, had caricature, had chocolates, return gifts, cake, dancing, singing, magician, which will, for us in our age, it'll entertain us. Exactly. But children were not excited. They did not like it. Only 30 minutes they were able to do that. And after 30 minutes, they go back to their mothers and say, Amma, phone. And this is dangerous according to us. That is not okay. You cannot grow up to be a normal human being. There is a lot of other problems. There's social isolation, desensitization, de-individuation, over-sexualization, name it. This child will face it in adolescence, and it's going to be very difficult to handle these children in adolescence.
What age is it that you're referring to here?
All these problems, you will start seeing these problems when your child steps into 2-digit age, 10 years. Until 9, everything will be okay.
So that's when it hits.
Exactly. See, until then, they will have other problems like speech delay. A child that's supposed to actually speak proper sentences, when they are 4 and 5 years old, they will not speak. Even 7 years old, they won't be able to frame sentences properly. So when a child is not able to express with words, that child will be an angry child. You understand? This child will go and beat another child because he or she is not able to express what she is feeling for this situation there. When they're not able to express, they become angry children. They become very hyperactive. They become very aggressive. And then parents try to control them with chocolates and sweets and say, okay, darling, have this. And that worsens the condition, aggravates it. So from very young age, you will be able to see a difference between the other normal kids and a child that's affected by excessive screen time. When the child reaches 7 years, it's okay to have 1 hour, 1.5 hours of screen time. See, these tuition classes online school is not considered screen time according to us. Maybe for an ophthalmologist, yes. But according to an educational psychologist, for a screen time is entertainment. Especially video games and, these YouTube shorts. Highly addictive, and it causes a lot of trouble. We'll speak more about this when we speak later, but yeah, this according to us is screen time. So if the child has 1 hour of tuition classes online, some class, music class, math class, that is not considered screen time. Entertainment, and that eats their brain, according to us is screen time.
When we say excessive screen time, so how much is really too much, right? So there's no agency which has sort of quantified that. But this Indian Academy of Pediatrics has recently given such nice guidelines. They've made it very simple. So any screen time that is encroaching into the child's daily routine, which includes schoolwork, like you said, educational screen time, and maybe, family time, physical activity, meal time, sleep, anything that is coming in the way of a normal routine is considered excessive screen time. So one way of looking at it is, purely entertainment. Now, as an ophthalmologist, I'm going to look at the total screen time, right? So educational screen time included. And the guidelines are slightly more relaxed because we are also, taking in the educational screen time. But, this is broadly another way of looking at it. And then, logically then, excessive screen time is affecting their physical health. They're getting very less physical activity. They're becoming couch potatoes. They'd rather sit with their phone than go out and play. So video games are preferred over physical. Yeah.
Ophthalmologist. Now she said for education purposes, it's okay.
So
What
again,
would you put a limit on?
see, there is again, these are IAP guidelines, the Indian Association of Pediatrics guidelines. So again, less than 2 years, they say that it should be zero screen time. Between 2 to 5 years, up to an hour and a half is all right. And beyond 5 years, up until 17 years, 2 hours is still okay, right? But there are a lot of, 2 hours is okay. This includes educational screen time as well. Up till 17 years.
Up to 17 years. Try talking that
I think I said my expertise doesn't work with my daughter. So,
See, I have children who in my clinic, I've seen children with screen time 14 hours a day, 15 hours a day. Last week I had one boy 18 hours. I'm like, when are you sleeping, son? They stop going to school. That's another problem. There is a slow onset of school refusal if there is excessive screen time. Yes.
It is.
And there's a large number of children like that. Large number, I must say.
Is that because they're getting some kind of a gratification by looking at screen at home versus what they will get when they go to
See,
school?
I'll tell you what, looking at the screen is a high dopamine activity. Going to school is an effort that the child has to put. It's work.
It's comparatively dull.
Exactly. And if it's a history teacher who's having boring classes, then the child is not done at all. The child does not want to do that. And when the child is very comfortable at home and telling, I like to sit at home and watch TV, when the home is more interesting during weekdays, child does not want to go to school. So many a times we tell the parents, please make home a little boring, at least during the weekdays. I know I might be contradicting the modern parenting techniques, but the number of cases I see, I would say, please stick to this. Many a times I tell these parents, very comfortably, you show them a screen and you feed them. Do they have TV or iPad in school during lunchtime? And the teacher has to ensure all 30 kids in the class are having their meal properly. The plight of the teacher is power, no? I feel so sorry for the teachers. Really, it's not easy at all. For us, we think, okay, I paid the fees. I'm sending my child to school, and now it's the teacher's work to get everything done. My child has to be perfect in school. That's not possible. What you do at home is what the child will do in school.
Parents are to be blamed, because we are the ones who've introduced our kids to technology, and we are the ones who've used a screen as a ready-made babysitter. So, yeah.
So that brings a point, because I always say this. It is not the children of this generation. It is the parents of this generation.
Feel that we as parents of this generation have a unique challenge, right? Nobody taught us how to deal with this. So we are also learning on the job. So, it's work in progress on both sides. So I think we need empathy for both sides.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing.
That's true. Going back to the point that you made, up until 2, there is absolutely no screen time. Just a video call is more than enough.
Yes.
So what about probably a 2-minute, 3-minute, like a YouTube song or something like that?
It's
Will
not
that work?
required.
Okay.
Because this screen entertainment is very colorful, very flashy, very noisy, very fast, and it's so captivating that anything else is boring. Psychology says a child has to play 12 different types of play. Okay, that includes solitary, onlooker, role play, rough play, learning play, life skills play, etc., creative play, constructive play, competitive play, all of this. And the 12th type of play is only electronic play. But the beauty of electronic play, it's so captivating that children like only that. They don't want to do anything else. How many toddlers today are interested to start playing board games? On the other hand, screen entertainment makes the child so happy. There is a flush of dopamine and serotonin, and this child is happily sitting and eating and not wanting to do anything else. Anything else, the child needs to put efforts. To make something with Lego, child needs efforts. There are a lot of parents who buy these expensive Lego toys, and then this child does not even complete one proper set. Because this child has no patience. Children not interested to do puzzles. Children not wanting to go down and play in an apartment. And then see, children, there are onlooker play children, which means they will go down, they will not play with other kids, they will only keep looking at everybody. And then this mother says, for not playing anything, why are you going down? You sit at home and watch TV. No. Child still learns. Today the child is looking at the other children. In 6 months' time, the child will go and play.
And they're also
That's true.
outside.
They're outside, exactly. They're away from the screen.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I tell this, parents really actually they tell me, I'm not able to control my mother, my father, because they are not able to handle this child. They introduce, and for them this is more comfortable. I would say more grandparents are addicted to the screen.
So it's not about them showing kids related. It's about them also watching their own series.
Exactly, with the child.
Ends up
This is a very
watching.
funny thing that happens.
Exactly.
Like people of our generation come into my consultation room and they complain about both ages. Okay, they're like, my kids are stuck to the screen, my parents are stuck to the screen. So it's the grandchildren and the grandparents who are on the screen, and we are left grappling with this situation.
Yeah.
Who do we?
Exactly. Grandparents behaving like teenagers.
Absolutely.
Well, at least grandparents, you can, give it to them because they've done their life and now they just want some relaxing time.
Yeah.
We actually have a whole section about how, because we are also reliant on our parents as working women to help with childcare. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it all. So, one question I have is, see, we all grew up in a time where there was TV, right? We were watching screens to an okay extent, I'd want to say. But why has it suddenly become such a conversation, especially when I feel like these conversations have started happening with doctors and psychologists. Like, why has it come to this degree all of a sudden? Where did that change happen? Or what is it that we or our children are doing differently from what we did then?
Pandemic has been a very defining moment in our history, and that screen became a one-stop shop for everything. Okay, education was on the screen, entertainment was on the screen, socializing was on the screen, catching up with family all over the world was on the screen. So can't really blame our kids. Some of the children who grew up in that time period, this is their normal. This is what they've So for us as adults, we were faced with a lot of uncertainty. So everything was topsy-turvy, and screens somehow became our saviors, right? We could still stay connected with the world because of technology. Education could continue because of technology. So tech has its advantages, but I think that has been the turning point why the entire focus has shifted to screens, and then work from home. When we started getting more and more people with digital eye strain. So I think we are going to talk about difference. I mean, it started affecting the day-to-day functioning of people all around the world. So I think that's when this conversation has gained a lot of momentum. That's why we're talking about it today. So.
Got it. No, lovely. It makes a difference to know why has this conversation come up. How about you, Saranya? What's your Saranya?
Don't you agree with me that the quality and speed of the digital world is different today? How did we get connected to the internet? You see that modem back then, some key, and then wait patiently.
We learned to be patient.
When you transfer files, this flying paper from here to there would go on for 15-20 minutes and we still waited. Today, everything is fast. Everything is in a second. And also, our entertainment used to be 30 minutes, 1 hour on the television. We had the patience to sit and wait for the advertisements to end and then continue watch that movie. But today, you see entertainment is 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 90 seconds and next. 30 seconds next, 30 seconds next. So the attention span of children has come down from 7 minutes, which used to be the average 10 years back, to now only 40 seconds. Can you teach something in 40 seconds? But only 40 seconds their attention span is. Quickly they want you to do something else. If you're not able to do something else, they're just going to watch here.
Is this for all age group?
All age groups. Okay. You see these children, all of these children who are addicted to YouTube shorts and Instagram reels, I must say, there is a big problem in their head. For sure. Even other children who are able to watch like movies or 30-minute programs on TV is okay. But this very quick entertainment, not okay. And I should say, MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role playing games like PUBG, Free Fire, Among Us, and especially I must mention here, not MMORPG but Roblox, is highly addictive. Very highly addictive. Most of my patients are children who play these games. You know why? There is a very slight difference between the real world and the real world in the child's head. They should be able to switch between the real world and the real world. But this entertainment has become extremely good quality that it is so much like real world. See, parents generally they think my child is just playing a video game. Do you even know how much of sexual content is there in these games? And there are 8-year-old boys who are playing these games. And when they do this in a real world, that is inside their video game world, when they come out and look at a girl, they are going to objectify her. They're going to look at her in a different way. They're going to be extremely violent. There was one case in Kerala where there was a boy, he had a knife in his hand in the game. Okay, he had that weapon in his hand, and then just when he was playing that game, ran out of battery, the device. So he put his phone away. He did not even have this idea to put the phone in charge because in his head, he's still in the game. He picked up the knife from the dining table and he stabbed his mother and she died. I had an opportunity to meet this kid. By the time this kid met me, he was back to normal and he was crying bitterly. Pavo, I feel sorry for these kids. Their brain is not developed enough. Because you're able to afford everything, please don't get these devices and these games for these children. It's not doing any good to them. In fact, I should say in government schools, there are children who cannot afford this and who are much better in cognitions than an international school kid that can afford all of this. Sometimes I would say poverty is a blessing. Because I grew up like that. There were days we could not afford 2 meals. And that amount of learning that it has given me, I can survive anywhere today. But today we are providing anything and everything to these children. There are parents who say, I'm feeling so bad, I'm not able to get this PlayStation for my kid. There is nothing to feel bad. Feel very happy. Feel very, very happy. If you can have video games restricted to only vacation time, it's a good practice. That's a best practice that many families follow. During their regular school days, they don't have these games. It's all up in the loft. You bring it down and have it only during vacations. Vacation, 1.5 months, let them play. It's okay. But then when they get back to school, they need to understand that they need to go to school, and this is not something they can go on doing forever, because their memory is affected, their ability to understand concepts is affected. See, here in this interview today, I can tell something very, very relatable. Most kids, they study very well. They learn very well before the exam. But just when they enter the exam hall and they look at the question paper, they're just not able to recall. Padichadalla nyabagam varamatingudhu. I'm not able to recall is what almost 80% of the kids are telling today, because their brain is constantly doing only short-term memory work. It's not doing any amount of this long-term activity, which is remembering, recalling, thinking, understanding. Nothing of that is happening.
Retention has gone down.
Retention is gone down, as simple as that. See, no child wants to be a failure. Is there any child who wants to be bad, wants to be a failure, wants to fail all the exams? But it's so sad that this is happening to them. And I think as parents, it is our duty to protect these children. See, there are parents who come and ask me, shouldn't I trust my adolescent kid? I say, please trust your kid. Don't trust their age. Don't trust the internet. Beyond all, don't trust these large companies, especially gaming companies and social media houses, that is actually pushing all these content into your child's life without your child's intention, without your child's interest. Your child does not intend to do this. Do they really want to sit and spend 6 hours on the phone?
Imagine,
but they end up
as
doing
adults,
that
we are struggling
because they're
with
not
this,
able to think
as
in control.
adults, we don't know when
Exactly.
We don't know when to stop, and we get pulled into
Exactly.
all these marketing strategies, and we end up buying stuff we don't want, and we end up watching stuff we
Exactly.
don't particularly want to. So,
Yeah.
That's true. And then if you watch something and you buy from somewhere,
Exactly,
that is the same
exactly.
content that gets repeated every time.
as adults, we struggle with these things. Kids, our first duty is to keep our kids safe. And I would say, like, you need a village to raise a child. I think now we need a village to keep our kids safe from, the dangers of screen time. And it's not just parents or caregivers. I think if you are an adult and you interact with any child in any capacity, you may be a teacher, you may be an uncle, aunt, you may be just somebody traveling on the train and you are interacting with a kid, you need to be sensitized about screen time. I think we have to,
Can do
we
that
have
these
to
days.
wake up.
They will retort back to us and probably ask some tough questions to us that we won't have an answer to. Like, who are you to tell me? My parents are okay
No,
with
which
it.
is why
That
I'm
kind of
saying, the
question comes
whole
back to you.
adult community should sort of, stand in solidarity. We should really, have some basic guidelines where all of us stand united, and this is to keep our children safe. This is to the future. I mean, these are horror stories that I'm hearing. Some kid who can stab his own mother, can get so influenced by a video game. That is scary. Like, this is not the world we want to, send our kids into, right? So,
It's also that, when we were growing up, screen time was such a communal activity. The entire family, whichever grade of the society you were in, there was one television that everybody was watching. Now we have a device for each person, maybe two devices. Let me
And
choose
then
between this
parents
and that.
got the priority for the TV. Children never got priority.
So at least the family's world was related. No, today, what the mother likes, the daughter is just not able to relate to. Her world is completely different. I have one patient from very small town near Nagapatnam. The mother works for a government organization, the Anganwadi, and they're very normal middle class family, okay? But this girl has an account on some, I think some connectivity app, okay? And then she gets to meet friends from China, from Japan. So she is living in that world only. She wants to eat kimchi at home. This mother does not even understand what that is. And online, they came to me for consultation. அவளுக்கு ஏதோ ஒரு ஃபாரின் பேய் பிடிச்சிருக்குமா அவ என்ன பேசுறானே எனக்கு புரிய மாட்டேங்குது. She cannot eat sambar and rice. She says, can they make kibimbap and kimchi? What is this? They don't speak English. This girl has learned Korean. This girl has learned Chinese. This girl has Japanese friends. And all with a Snapchat filter. She does not show her original face to them. So what an imaginary world that this girl is living in. Her reality is just there, and she's refusing to look at her parents and speak to them or even respect them.
And what potential she has, no? Just the ability to learn all these languages and all of this. That's
So if she would put it to good use, yes, exactly.
absolutely.
These children are very smart, but how they are utilizing their intellect is different. They have to be given nice things to do, otherwise they're anyway going to do something useless.
That's true.
I have a question for you and for you too. You said something about the parent asking you, shouldn't I trust my adolescent child? They're yet to make wise choices.
Yeah.
So there should be trust, but within a set of boundary, knowing as a parent, having gone through the same phase when we were young, we know what to expect from that age.
In Delhi recently, there was this boys' room WhatsApp group. I don't know if you are aware of this. These very young boys, 12 and 13-year-old boys, having extreme inappropriate conversations on a WhatsApp group, sharing videos, pictures, objectifying their own classmates. Absurd. If one of the parents was looking at the WhatsApp group and seeing what this child was talking, so many things would have been, avoided. But all the parents trusted their children. That's why I say don't trust your children blindly. It's not okay. Their frontal cortex development has not happened yet. They don't know what is right, what is wrong. They don't even know whom they're talking to, what they're talking. And see, when I was in the commission, day in and day out, we used to have problems related to children getting into trouble, children being with law. There was one girl, one ninth standard girl, who robbed her own mother's jewelry to give it to a person she met on Instagram, and this person eloped with the jewelry. And then this girl sits there and cries. And she was in a relationship with him for 8 months, and this mother did not know anything. Sometimes we think all these will not happen to our children, but when you give them a phone and when you don't monitor it, it's like sending them into the city and telling, meet anybody, talk to anybody, do whatever you want.
It's not about the parent trusting the child. It's about keeping the child safe. And I would like to. There's this very nice analogy that Dr. Becky, she's a parent educator, and I follow her content on Insta. And this analogy sort of stuck with me. She says, as parents, we are the pilots, okay, and our kids are our passengers. So if there's turbulence, you are still flying the plane. Your passengers are going to complain. They're not going to like if you don't land the plane at the destination that it was planned for. But are you going to listen to the passengers and say, oh, sorry, you don't like this destination? Fine. I have to keep you happy. I will land at the destination that, we intended to. No, you are not. Your pilot is not going to do that. The pilot's first job is to keep you safe, not happy. So, my take on this whole trust thing is, and this is what, I follow with my daughter. If you have access to technology, if you have access to the online world, I need to know what content you're seeing. And privacy is a term, privacy comes after safety. So I understand you're a teenager, you need your privacy, please go ahead, you can talk to your friends and everything, but I need to know. I in fact, occasionally even ask her, randomly, what was this WhatsApp chat about? And we've agreed in our MOU that I have rights to open her WhatsApp and randomly just, get a feel of what's happening, what sort of conversations are happening. So this, I think, and kids these days are really smart. If you really appeal to them, if you parent with connection, I'm sure they are mature enough to understand where you are coming from. So authoritarian ways don't work very clearly in modern times. But if you do tell them, and this pilot analogy is working very well for us. So so if I say, Ma, you can see, we were only talking about this. And there have been times when, I have intervened and, we've spoken about how some language is not appropriate. And there's always comparison. But Amma, you are so uncool, there are my friends' parents are okay with this. My friends' parents don't, look into the kids' WhatsApp. Or my friends' parents trust them. You don't trust me. So then I tell her that I completely trust you. But I don't, you're still a child. I don't trust you to be able to keep yourself safe. That's my job, not yours. And I'm the pilot. So that seems to be working. Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful analogy. Yeah, absolutely. Now, having said that, right, and having seen all of these, I'd want to say instances where you see these extremities, what would you sort of say are symptoms, say for a parent like myself? I have kids, I have young kids at home. When do I what are warning signals or symptoms when, as both an educational psychologist and an ophthalmologist, you say, hey, these are warning signals, this is when you should check your screen time? What would you say those are?
Number one, when a child refuses to go to school continuously for 20 days, 25 days. See, once in a way, it's fine. Amma, I don't feel like going to school today. I want to take a break. It's fine. But continuously for 15 days, 20 days, child not wanting to go to school is a red flag. Second, child not wanting to make friends with anybody or getting rid of the existing friendships also. Fighting with everybody, wanting to stay alone, staying in the toilet for too long, only with the device. Even if relatives come home, Amma, why are they coming home? Why? What do they want? Only one weekend we have. Why should they trouble us even in the weekend? There are a lot of adolescent children who say things like these. Wow. So that's definitely not okay. And then 3, when you really see weird behavioral changes, that is definitely a red flag. Sudden over-sexualization in girls, definitely a red flag. Sudden violent behavior in boys, definitely a red flag. See, they not able to study, not able to score marks, not always related to screen time. Okay? But not able to follow a routine, not able to be a social person is definitely a problem. It's not okay. It's not okay at all. And then the child feels drowsy the entire day means the child has excessive screen time in the night. Child is not sleeping on time. Child is always on the phone, trying to put herself or himself to sleep, but continuously watching the phone for till 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and then the child feels extremely drowsy in the morning. That, Amma, I'm so tired, I don't want to go to school. I don't, even if the child is going to school, child is sleeping, not able to study. So that extreme drowsiness is definitely not okay. And then inability to connect with the family. Even when we sit for a dinner, when we have a dinner table conversation, the child should be able to say one or two things at least. Totally not showing interest and having a straight face and this and that link done. Can I go? Is not okay.
Some of these
Got
could
it.
be a
No,
little
this is very
confounding with
useful.
teenage. Some of these, not all of these. These are definitely red flags noted. But I'm saying, this thing of wanting to spend more time alone or wanting to spend more time with the peer group, and not really engaging with the family, and especially the relatives bit. Somebody visits and they're like, must I come and talk? I don't want to. So I don't know where, do you have any pointers on that? Where do we sort of find the line?
See, you know how much of that we were able to do. They will be able to do a little less than what we did. But absolutely not doing anything of this is a red flag, is what I'm telling. Instantly, I don't like any of my cousins coming home. I don't want to celebrate any festivals. I don't like to go shopping. Even on a vacation, if they are not enjoying the vacation and not appreciating the place you're going and always wanting to be only on the phone, is definitely not a nice thing to do, because later on when they go to a job, they won't like the job. When they get married, they will not like that family life. Nothing will excite them. Only the phone and whatever they see on the phone will excite them. I have a lot of young couples who come to me for counseling, for divorce counseling, because the husband is always playing video games. Returning from work, and husband says, this is my only outlet, madam. 4 hours on the game, and then what do? I go to sleep, madam. What is this poor little girl doing at home, waiting for you the entire day?
Health as a topic in itself is still not so openly discussed. And I think we're talking about kids here and we're particularly talking about screen time, but I'm saying adults also do this to sort of distract themselves from whatever issues they're going through, I think. I'm sure children do that too, because and I'm talking more about teenage because, we are going through that phase right now. So it's so tough for them too, so many kids trying to fit in,
In your same lines, as you said, most of these are what adolescent children do. Whatever you do as a parent, your adolescent child is not going to like you. You can be the best parent in the world. Your child will have something to complain about you and will say, that auntie is better than you because of this. Most parents go through this phase. Even as teenage kids, I used to hate my mother because she was super strict. Yeah. Now when I grow up and when I have kids, I understand, okay, my mother was right. So I think we'll have to give them that time. So it's not required to be a nice parent.
Yeah.
It's always important to be a correct parent. We do the correct things, as she very rightly said. You are the pilot, you need to land. Let them scream, let them shout, let them pour water on their head and say, my life is very bad in this family, because these children know sometimes they say things that they don't really understand. Yeah. It hurts us also. Then we're like, I'm working day and night for providing this to you, and you are telling me this. We should not get offended. They don't really understand what they're speaking.
But they find that sweet spot where they know it. It's sort of
exactly.
one spot
Like that
where
sting.
it stings us.
So can we come back to you as an ophthalmologist? What are the symptoms that you see?
Kids who come in. Now I'm going to talk, purely in terms of a medical perspective. So a lot of these kids.
And then can you
Yes.
start from
So
young
let's
age to
start with
adolescence?
very young
Yes.
kids. Okay. So in extreme cases, I've had children come in with a squint because of hours of screen time. At 2 years and 3 years, they're doing 5 hours, 6 hours of screen time. Practically the entire time the parents are away at work, the child has this screen as the babysitter, even if grandparents or a paid babysitter is available. So, I've had children who The only intervention it took was to, just go cold turkey on the screens, and, they were all right. So, but those are extreme cases, children coming with squint. I'm saying these are
Squint.
extreme cases.
you,
Excessive screen time can
okay.
land a child with a squint as well. Right now, slightly older kids, there are other issues. They come with difficulty focusing in school, and of course how when the child is not doing too well in school, not copying stuff, and not getting the marks. The teachers first guide the teachers first tell them, take this child to the eye doctor. Maybe he's not able to see properly. But then, when after detailed history taking and all of that, we do realize that screen time is somewhere impacting these symptoms. And a lot of children, especially in the post-COVID world, have developed myopia. Myopia is short-sightedness, when the child is not able to see things that are far away. And now we know for a fact that
Far away.
increased near work contributes to myopia. Of course, there is a genetic component. If parents have myopia, the child is at an increased risk of myopia. And then, lack of outdoor activity is also implicated in the development of myopia. And now studies are ongoing to find a link between screen time and myopia. And preliminary results are definitely indicating that there's a very strong connection, right? And more with handheld devices. Exactly.
Especially in a dark room,
I mean,
isn't it?
these are the things. And especially post-COVID, I have been writing so many prescriptions for children as young as 2 years, 3 years, high minus powers, not just myopia, astigmatism as well. Because when they are looking at a screen at that distance all the time, the anatomy of the eye is also changing. The corneas are getting more curved, the eyeball is lengthening. So these things are happening at a very structural level also, right? So then a lot of kids, parents bring them with headaches, and then dry eyes. Like during my training, children was really unheard of.
At a very
So
young
now we
age,
have
especially.
kids who have severe dry eyes because they're stuck with their screens, right? So, and then a lot of allergy.
Along the same question that I had for her, right? What are some preventive symptoms? So, when as a parent I see these signs in a child, I know that this is too much screen time from a physical and an ophthalmologist's perspective. What are some signs
So
you
if
sort of
the
watch
child
out for?
is going too close to the TV to watch, or is holding the device really close to the face, or in very young kids, if keep if they keep rubbing their eyes, or if they're missing school because they wake up with headaches, those are the signs.
So, what would you recommend in case where they end up watching too much screen time? How often should they be looking away from the screen?
I mean, I'm sure now the 20 rule, right? So it says every 20 minutes, take a break, look away from your screen, and blink 20 times. And look away at an object which is 20 feet away. So the 20 is just to catch your attention. The point being, take frequent breaks, look at something further away. So when you look at far off distance, relax, right? And when you're looking at a screen, you blink very less. Like when we are just sitting and talking to each other, we will be blinking anywhere between 15 to 20 times in a minute. If you were looking at your phone, blink 2 to 3 times a minute. So that, the dryness, exactly. Your tears evaporate
causing the
far
dryness.
more when you are, looking at your screens. So, they take frequent breaks, look at something, take your eyes off the screen, look at something far off, blink more often. Right? So how I use this while I'm at work is every time, maybe when I'm typing my prescription, when I hit the space key, I blink. Because it's not practical to stop everything and blink 20 times. I mean, it's a little funny that way. So these are the kind of things. And then what you mentioned, ambient lighting. That's very important. A lot of kids do their screens, at night. They switch off all the lights. They're lying on bed, probably with a blanket, so that the parents don't know, and they're looking at their screens. So that is even more strenuous on the eyes. Right, so generally, the brightness of your screen should be more or less equal to the ambient lighting. Too bright is also too bad. Too dark is also too bad. So, that is something that we can easily do even on our kids' devices. And then something called visual hygiene, and this is not restricted to only screens. Even when you're reading, it's always a good idea to sit upright and read. A lot of us lie down and the book is on top, so it's just if you're upright, you can still relax, prop yourself up on the bed and stay upright when you're reading. Have some sort of ambient lighting on, and when you are reading, it's always a good idea to your viewing angle should be a little lower than your eye level, so you're not staring right at the screen or the book. It's slightly below your eye level. So these are a few things that
Do you have a preference? Say you can't really stop screen time. Both of you really. Do you have a preference of some devices over another? Like this is okay.
As far as screens go, the bigger the screen, the further away the screen, the better it is for you. It's very simple. So, definitely TV screens over desktops, desktops over laptops, laptops over tabs over phones.
Phones.
So, when we were growing up, watching TV from this distance was considered bad. And now, as a parent to a teenager,
Watch TV,
I'm
yeah.
like,
It's the
I think
lesser
you'd rather
evil. It's
watch
clearly the
TV
lesser evil
than
in
look at
today's
the phone.
times.
Yes, the lesser evil, yeah.
How is this Kindle? There are a lot of children that read from a Kindle, right?
Kindle has, I think, a Kindle is a slightly better version of a screen. It is more reader friendly, and the contrast, the fonts, all those are a little more comfortable on the eyes. So yes, Kindle has its own advantages, and this is a question that a lot of parents ask me. And it's a little more practical when you're traveling, and how many books will you store? There are kids who are avid readers, and they read like a book a week or even more. So then practicality reigns supreme sometimes, and Kindle is not a bad idea. It is still a screen. Given a choice, I would definitely.
book or a
That's
Kindle?
true.
It's definitely
But
a
even
book.
with Kindle, it cannot. Kindle.
I have a question on a very sensitive topic, I feel, right? There's something that we've been hearing of late, screen-induced autism or virtual autism or screen overuse syndrome. Now, these are all terms, big terms that are thrown at people who don't know much about it, right? So are these real things? Do you see this? What is this?
See, the autism spectrum disorder has a lot of elements in it. Okay, from learning disability to a heavily autistic child, there are a lot of different symptoms not applicable for every child. Some children have some symptoms, some children don't have it. But is it screen induced? In the recent days, yes. There is a few children who actually, we see their autism symptoms getting aggravated because of increased screen time. So when they go for occupational therapy or for behavioral therapy, we ask the parents to completely cut down screen time because the therapy is just not working with that child. So if it happens to a child that needs help, then imagine a normal child, a child that's able to do all his or her work properly, having good friends, good relationships. This increased screen time is making this child hyperactive, making this child a little more attention deficit. Okay, then there are a lot of these doctors who simply say this child has ADHD. This child has ADHD, this adult has ADHD, it's become a fashion. I have ADHD is fashion these days. No, it's a disorder. We do not use such terms with children. And I always say the problem with my field is about 15 years back when I started practice, we used to go around explaining to people that it's okay to come to a psychologist to understand what your problem is, what is depression, what is anxiety. Today, when parents come to me, they simply say, "Ma'am, my child has depression. Can you give her some CBT for depression?"
One of the perils of social media, everybody is WhatsApp University these
Oh
days.
my God. Exactly. Everybody will learn everything from Google. Please do not Google your symptoms. It's written on a large poster in my clinic. We said, do not Google the symptoms. Do not come to conclusions. Do not brand your children. Now, see, if a child is fighting with the mother, then the child is not speaking to anybody at home. The child is sad. Immediately, we don't say, my child is depressed. You understand there is a large difference between this and that. So this depressive episodes, depression, generalized anxiety disorder, ADHD, all these are disorders. And there are a few symptoms maybe that your child is showing, but that does not mean your child has a problem and that you need to immediately take your child to a psychiatrist and start medications immediately. No.
So when you talk about symptoms, what should we be looking for when you say autism spectrum disorder or screen-induced autism?
See, generally, you know these regular milestones that pediatricians suggest? If your child is able to reach your milestones, it's fine. There are parents who come to me bringing their 5-year-old child and then they say, can you test this child for learning disability? I say, no. The child hasn't even started learning. You cannot identify if the child has learning disability or not. We will be able to find out only if the child is 7 years old. So give your child the time to develop. One part of the brain that does mathematics may not develop when the child is 5 years old, may develop when the child is 8 years old. If your child is not able to say colors when 3 years old, it's okay. Please wait. 5 years, 6 years, the child will learn colors. See, but parents are, they don't have the patience these days. They want the child to do everything. They want the child to have a world record, the child to say Tirukkural, the child to get 100 medals and certificates, all when the child is 6 years only. See, that is not okay. Please give the time for the child to start learning, and then when you constantly get pieces of problems from the teacher, that is your first red flag. When the teacher constantly says, she's not like the other children, she's not sitting in one place, she's not able to follow what we say, please don't ignore that. Because the teacher is handling so many kids, the teacher knows that, see, every child is not the same. Teacher understands that, okay? But when one child is not able to do even the basic things that other children are able to do, then that is when the teacher is coming and telling, hey, your child needs help. Don't take that for granted. If the teacher says your child needs help, your child needs help. Because the child spends most of their active time of the day with the teacher and not with you. When the child is tired and at home, you may not be able to understand what's happening to this child. You understand? Only when the child is learning, when the child has to sit in a structured setup, what that child shows, that is when we will be able to analyze what this child is going through. And that is when we need to take this child to a psychologist or a counselor for help. And if required, the psychologist will forward to a psychiatrist, if required. Yeah, not all children will need medicines and therapies, and no, some children just need lifestyle changes, and a counselor or a psychologist will be able to give you that perfect list of lifestyle changes, and that alone will make a difference in the child.
Got it. That's such a valuable lesson. As parents, we also tend to overstep, overdiagnose, self-diagnose, and do a lot of things which may actually be unnecessary for our children these days.
So again, when you said a teacher will be able to point out, as a teacher, what should I be looking for?
Yeah, see, you will be able to understand not all children will sit in the class forever. Okay? Getting disturbed one day is okay. Maybe the child is sleepy that day, 2 days, okay. But constantly this child is just not able to sit in one place, not able to do even one activity, not able to respond to your commands, or not able to respond to you calling the child's name. When you say Adit, child does not turn at all, is not a nice thing. That is a red flag again. And then when you say, Adit, can we do this? If what you generally do is not exciting the child, something else that you offer, whatever you've gone through in your training days, when you offer something else, that should at least interest the child. When nothing is working with this child, then this child needs help, for sure. And early diagnosis is better. Because if you don't diagnose hyperactivity earlier, then the child is going to become aggressive. The child will bite other children. The child will beat other children, pull hair of other children. All this they will show. And then the mother will start being defensive. You understand? She'll start protecting the child. She'll say, nothing is wrong with my child. Nothing is wrong with my child. Maybe that child only did this, and all of this will pop up. So initially understanding and telling, see, this child has to sit down at least for some time. If not for 4 hours together, it's okay. But at least for 10 to 15 minutes, one activity this child should be able to do. Not being able to do in this modern education system, if you understand that today education education has become very modern, very fancy. We use all these fancy, colorful objects to teach, videos to teach. If that is also not working, then it's going to be difficult.
I think this is all so new to even the people who keep reading about it, who try to learn and understand parenting. This sort of area is so new for all of us that we need to start at least accessing that sort of information with care, I feel, because it's taken very lightly in some ways. That being said, I'm going to come to our favorite topic: primary caregivers, choosing our primary caregivers, and what sort of conversations are we having with them. I think all of us here are women who work, right? So as a parent, who are your primary caregivers for your children? How did you both manage that? And then I'd love to come to the professional side, but I'd love to hear the parents in you speak.
When you are, and this is like a day-to-day thing, right? So I tend to think that the medical nitty-gritty is not as interesting. Usually, you'll only want to discuss this much with your doctor, correct? But when it is... That's the thing.
No, I think that's why we chose our guests, where they're also parents. Yes, I think that was the thought behind it, because it's when you've already done it, when you've been through it, whether you're a medical practitioner, as a parent, I feel you've been on the other side as well. Yeah.
I relate to this topic more as a parent.
Right.
As a professional, is it?
As a professional, because I think the professional bit is easy. My job ends with counseling, and a lot of my work, because I speak to so many children, I've realized when you directly talk to the kids, it is more impactful.
Exactly. See, because you're an outsider, the same thing mother would have told 6 months, but they will not listen. But when a nice, beautiful auntie in a sari says, they will listen.
So like a lot of them come back saying, my kid then will quote you and say, no, but Shweta auntie said that. No, that's why I must, So it is...
It's not about the right part. No, it's not even that. If you by mistake say it is okay to see, that's all. And if I'm restricting, but Shweta auntie said this much is okay, why are you restricting? No, that kind of a...
So that's the thing,
I have a lot of my little patients who go back home and correct their parents. Why are you taking your phone to the bed? Auntie told us not to take. No, I am not taking. You also don't take.
Yeah, very fair.
You have to be a role model.
Exactly.
You walk the talk.
Can't hide. We are on candid camera 24/7. So you cannot preach.
They're watching you like Big Boss house.
It's like Big Boss house 24/7 all through the
So
night.
were we when we grew up, but we did not have the guts to talk.
Amma, you will do. You can see Instagram and you will pick this sari on Instagram, but I'm not even allowed to sign up on Instagram. I said yes.
Exactly. That's how it is.
Some things are not.
Who's the parent?
Yeah.
Who's the mother?
It's like annoying. That's how it is.
So unfair. How rude. How rude.
It's a very
You
favorite
have
one.
a 14, 13-year-old daughter. I have a 5-year-old daughter. Who says, how rude, Amma. You're so uncool.
Uncool and rude.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't earned that nickname yet.
Oh,
Annoying. Forever the annoying one.
very uncool and rude, apparently.
Yeah. So at home, I live in a joint family. I have my Anni who takes care of my children. When my daughters are just 1 year and 2 years old, I used to travel to Rajasthan all the way. 1 month, 1.5 months I'm there. So she's brought up completely by my Anni only, and I'm not judgmental at all. Whatever she does, I trust in that. If I go back and keep correcting that, as a mother, I'm failing, because I will lose that system that I have, that support system. And I go back to her and I thank her all the time. But before that, I ensure if something is going wrong, I don't correct her in front of my children, because my children will stop respecting her. So I tell her what to do, what not to do behind the screen, not in front of my children.
Going to somebody, say a father or a mother or a father-in-law, and saying, hey, this is too much screen time, this isn't great, is such a tough conversation to have.
See, actually, we cannot blame the grandparents also, because they have seen us grow up with a TV. They have seen us watch the TV every day and then just before exam, just go through the books and still pass the exam. But today's kids are not able to do that. So for a lot of parents, I say bring the grandparents to me. I'll explain to them what this new age entertainment is doing to your grandchildren. It's not like how it was 20 years back. It is different and it's troubling. It's eating their head. They're not able to study. They're not able to be happy. All of this is a problem. So sometimes as parents, I think you be the deciding person in the house. Please our parents or to take care of our kids, take care of our kids. Do the right thing for them. I tell them, don't force the child to sit and watch Big Boss with you. Don't force the child to sit and watch drama with you. Don't share your experiences with this child. You know, some grandparents, generally they say, no, why she's doing like this? They should not do. They talk about the characters. They tend to discuss it with the grandchildren. That is not okay. So we tell them, don't do all of this. If the child is playing inside the room, let the child play. If you want to tell them some stories, you say. If you don't want to say stories, it's okay. But don't show the screen. See, always when it comes to children, we should not stop with telling, no, don't do this. We always tell them, don't do this, but instead do this. Because their brain cannot process alternatives. For example, a little child, if you say, don't climb the stairs, this little child will look at you blank look and then will start climbing the stairs. Because they cannot process alternatives. So constantly telling them, don't use the phone, don't watch the TV will not work. So you tell them what is the alternative, and that alternative has to be interesting like TV watching. Don't watch the TV, go and do mathematics, ma? No. Don't watch the TV, let's all do yoga? No. This and that cannot equal. So instead of watching the TV, can we go down and play with the ball? Can we go down and play in the park? Yeah, that's a good alternative. So being very vocal with them, expressing what are the ground rules in this family, and we will also follow that. It's good for the child also. It's easy for you to take care of the child. If the child grows without a screen, is what we need to explain to the caretaker.
How about you, Shweta?
You've really done a good job, navigating this difficult space. So I really want to acknowledge that first. And so it's a similar thing for me. I also live in a joint family, and fortunately, grandparents, the grandmother has always been around whenever I was off to work. Fortunately for me, my work has always allowed some flexibility. So right from the beginning, and I have only one daughter, so I've tried to be around as much as I could. So that has been a conscious choice. Now that she's a little older, this is still a little bit of a complicated space to navigate, but I think communication is key. Like what you said was spot on. Communication with the primary caregivers is key. So in my absence, in the early years, there was a nanny, and we had the same nanny for quite some time, and the grandmother would always be there. But I had just very simple rules. There were just 2-3 things that I was very assertive about, and and the first rule was no devices on the dining table. The child eats only at the dining table, and if you as a caregiver are not able to feed the child, leave the child alone. When the child is hungry, the child will ask for food. So this was like a very basic rule, and something that I protected with my life, saying my child will not eat in front of the screen. And then at that point, it was okay if the grandparents did not understand that. It was okay. It was my rule, and they respected that. So a lot of these things around screen time have been work in progress. And it is tough because the grandparents sometimes don't see why certain things are not allowed. And, sometimes they are doing screen time themselves too. So they sort of don't have that power to tell the grandchild, what, no, you can't do it. I will do it. I'm doing it, but you can't. So, I think this whole conversation has to happen from a nice place. It is not you.
Child's interest in mind.
Exactly. And like you rightly said, our job is not to please the grandparents or the child. So it is fine. It is all about communication. It's not been a very smooth ride, I must agree, because I was also learning, there have been times when I have slipped up too, and I have been like, how can, somebody not understand that this is not okay? And I have got that angle too. There I am sitting at work day in and day out, advising all the other children in the world this is not okay, advising their parents and grandparents. I come back home and nobody's bothered about my opinion. So I've had my moments, but
Probably the emotion any mother goes through once in a while at least, and it's okay to feel that way because it's quite common, it's normal.
exactly. So then, but then it helps that that I interact with so many sets of parents, grandparents at work. I bring back those stories, and it's my way of sort of pushing my message, saying, oh, you know what? I met this grandma who had come with the granddaughter, and they had such an amazing thing. They do such fun things together, and both of them just keep all their devices away. So these are the opportunities to sort of push my stories.
Alternatives, like
Yes, exactly. So I think these are the things that we can use.
Positive way to deal with, because we are heavily reliant on these primary caregivers, but there's always been, I feel, a slightly negative association with all the help that they give us. So I think these are some very positive ways to deal with the same situation that we're all put into. So one thing I did want to ask you is we also do all of this screen watching. I come back from work, I try to sneak in 10 minutes to just do this, what we ask our children not to do. Do you also see adults with the same issues coming in? Do you also see adults being the cause for children having these issues?
Yeah. Sometimes when children want to initiate conversations, the father's like, oh, can you come back later? I'm doing something. How can you do that to a child? No, you have to be good listeners. Maybe if you're really busy with something, you can say, okay, let me finish this and come to you. But that cannot happen all the time. The child will not initiate conversations with you at all because the child will say, Amma is busy. Appa is busy. Let me not disturb them. Let me do something on my own. So you need to be available for the children, at least, for that quality time. If not, I always say parenting children with special needs is a full-time job. But otherwise, it is not a full-time job. It should not be a full-time job. I know a lot of these young mothers who don't go to work, don't cook, don't do any of the household chores, don't spend time with friends, don't groom themselves up properly because they say, I'm taking care of the baby. That is not a full-time thing. Don't do it like that. You are going to start hating yourself being a parent if you're going to do that. So parenting is definitely one part of your life. It's not your complete life itself. We need to understand. We need to have our own time also. But when the child needs that amount of quality time, we need to give. I know a lot of parents addicted to their phones, their work. Yes, I understand work from home dads, they work until 11 and then they wake the child up to spend time with the child. That's a wrong thing.
What you mentioned, even that one moment of eye contact can do wonders. Like you are on your device, your child is calling out to you. You just look at the child and say, hey, just give me a moment. That eye contact does wonders. Like you cannot be looking at your device and okay, you know what, I'm going to get to you. No, I mean, so I know a lot of people who work from home. So adults are not, I'm not seeing adults who are coming in with an addiction to screen, because I think a lot of adults don't even acknowledge that they're addicted to their screens, right? Most of them come to me because they're working in front of a screen and they're at it 12 hours, 14 hours a day, night shifts. And, when the whole family comes to me and it is more that the children are seeing both parents on their devices all the time. And again, it's the norm in the house. So it is normal to be sitting in front of a screen all day. So I deal with a lot of those kind of scenarios rather than, addiction. I'm an eye doctor. I don't expect anybody to come and tell me I'm addicted to my screen, an adult. They will come and they'll say my child is addicted, my parent is addicted to the screen. Both, like I said, the grandparents and the grandkids are addicted to the screen, and I have to deal with these two. So it's more of that. I have not really seen, an adult screen addiction spilling over onto the child. Though, some parents are into video games, they are heavily into gaming, and the child gets into gaming as well. And I've had mothers who complain that, but the father is also gaming and the child is, The father doesn't listen to me, how is the child going to? So those kind of scenarios, but nothing extreme really.
Having said that, hearing from both of you,
Ultimately, it looks like it is the parent, or rather the adult who's going to be the parent, needs some unlearning and learning. Exactly.
Yeah.
When they have a child. So they'll have to put the child's safety first, the child's health first, and the child's well being first. So, which means we as an adult should change ourselves, right? We need to see what we can do, that we are a role model for our children in terms of even eyesight, and in terms of mental and social well-being.
I would change ourselves. I would say that we need to be conscious parents, and we need to, take parenting seriously. A lot of people, parenting, especially in our country, it's taken for granted. Like, you reach this age, you get married, you have a child. I don't know how consciously even our parents thought about this whole parenting process, right? So I would say that we need to be mindful parents. That's about it.
And probably that is why they don't understand where we are coming from. Because when we were growing up, we just grew up. Yes. That's all we did. But now that's not the case with this generation. So we have to be those conscious, mindful parents. Exactly. And for that, we have to do a lot of unlearning and learning. Before we begin the journey of parenthood.
it is an ideal.
But when you have a human being there who is solely dependent on you, so I feel you have to put in that extra effort. When I say change yourself, like when you sit there and watch TV, that is a change you have to consciously make. You have to figure out, how else can I do this? So my child is not looking at me. So what else alternative can I provide my child, so my child is not addicted to screen? And that way, you're also bonding as a family. So that will work wonders. So kids will not go through what they go through, and for which they have to, come to you, or
Yeah, so we have to pull them into the real world. Like you mentioned, beyond a point, there's no distinction between virtual and real. So if we pull them back into the real world, if they do experience human connection, I think that can be an excellent replacement for a screen, right? The kind of oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin you're going to get with human connection, I think it's unparalleled. Something like even spending time in nature, connecting with your friends and family in the real world is, I think, something that we all have to think about.
it is easier said than done, but I think taking that right step towards that will probably help us all.
Absolutely. What are your takeaways from for parents who want to create a balanced screen time? See, as much as we speak about all of this, that's not an element that can be completely taken away from their lives. How do they set up, if you have, say, 3 things you can say to set up a balanced, healthy screen time for a child, what would you say, sir?
See, when it comes to video games, let me start with that. That's the most difficult to control. These large video games companies, they have in place a wonderful system that analyzes how this child is playing. If the child says, from today, after watching this episode, if the mother says, okay, from tomorrow, only half an hour video game, okay, son, only 5 to 5:30. So if the system is going to look at this child play 5 to 5:30 every day, then the system on the third day at 5:28 will give a wonderful weapon to the child in the game that the child will want to continue and say, Amma, please, can I finish this? This weapon is there only for 15 minutes. Can I please do it? This game will make the child, get addicted to it, because these are intelligent systems. If you think you're more intelligent than a supercomputer, than Google, than YouTube, than the video games, no, we are not smart. So consciously, video games, I would say 0. Cut it out completely, because it's not going to help. Somebody is making hell a lot of money there because your son or your daughter is playing here and their brain is getting damaged. When it comes to social media, please have good parental control checks on the settings. Have time settings in their phone or in their device, whichever device they're having. And ensure you have a practice at home wherein once in 3 days they come and show their screen time to you in their parental controls. They say, this is the screen time, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, because some children, they don't really understand. When they come to my clinic and say, okay, darling, take your phone, let's see your screen time. And then they'll say, Auntie, 14 hours, Auntie. They really feel bad about it. They definitely feel bad. So making them look at their own screen time consciously will actually help them, because we cannot get rid of screens completely.
it's not
Not possible at all. But consciously you can go and see which one are you spending time on. Zoom, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat. Where are you spending more time? I think we'll balance that out a little bit. So making them consciously use their devices so they are in control of the device and the device is not in control of them is very important. That's a learning, and we need to teach that to the children. And lastly, I would say no devices in the bed, in the bathroom,
At the dining table also.
at the dining table. Yeah. So these three places, restaurants, dining table, not allowed. These three places for adults, for children, for grandparents, devices, not okay at these three places.
Lovely. And Shweta, we're going to get to you both as a parent and an ophthalmologist. What are your three sort of mantras for managing screen time?
I have 3 M's. That's my mantra. So first is model good digital behavior. The second one would be monitor screen time and content. And the third would be my MOU, a memorandum of understanding, mutually agreed terms between the parent and child to, set rules for a balanced screen time. Because, it's not a one size fits all sort of a thing. So you will need to sit down with your child and, everybody has a different value system. So you need to work on that. So that's my mantra. Yeah.
Lovely.
I actually like that.
Yeah, I think it's 3 M's. I think this is a very useful and positive conversation around screen time, because there is a lot of negativity associated with it, and everything, right? If used rightly, it can do wonders. Screens are also the exact same way. Use it rightly and it will help you gain knowledge, entertain you, relax you, do all of it. But when overused or used incorrectly, anything can become a weapon, and so can screens. Thank you so much, both of you, for doing this with us. We really enjoyed conversing with you. Thank you.
The mothers who see this. Thank you. I hope the mothers who see this video or hear this audio share it with the grandparents at home also.
That is the only reason we had that question in. Grandparents can also watch this and
Yes.
understand where
Yes.
we're all coming from.
Yes, yes.
That's true.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
very, very much.
It was such a pleasure meeting you.